After New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's resignation, this video explains why many Italian Americans suffer from the delusion that they are irresistible to women. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjeet Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. On August 10, 2021, third-term New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced that he will resign on August 24th after a 160-page damning report from the state's Attorney General concluded that he had sexually harassed 11 women and had also sought to retaliate against one of the accusers who had gone public with her allegations. After a months-long investigation, the prosecutors stated that their findings substantiated the allegation of several women that the governor's actions included unwarranted and non-consensual touching, groping, kissing, and comments of a sexual nature. These actions constitute violations of both state and federal law. In his remarks, in which he announced he was resigning, the governor stated, "The most serious allegations made against me had no credible factual basis in the report, and there is a difference between alleged improper conduct and concluding sexual harassment. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not to say that there are not 11 women who are truly offended. There are, and for that I deeply, deeply apologize. I thought a hug and putting my arm around a staff person while taking a picture was friendly, but she found it to be too forward. I kissed a woman on the cheek at a wedding, and I thought I was being nice, but she felt that it was too aggressive. I have slept and called people honey, sweetheart, and darling. I meant it to be endearing, but women found it dated and offensive. I said on national TV to a doctor wearing PPE and giving me a COVID nasal swab, 'You make that gown look good.' I was joking. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have said it on national TV, but she found it disrespectful. I take full responsibility for my actions. I have been too familiar with people. My sense of humor can be insensitive and off-putting. I do hug and kiss people casually, women and men. I have done it all my life. It's who I have been since I can remember. In my mind, I have never crossed the line with anyone, but I didn't realize the extent to which the line had been redrawn. There are generational and cultural shifts that I just don't fully appreciate, and I should have. No excuses." The last few sentences are worth repeating. In my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone, but I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn. There are generational and cultural shifts that I just didn't fully appreciate, and I should have. No excuses. I would like to tell Governor Cuomo that he was elected governor 3 times because he is supposed to have a keen ability to scan the environment and recognize the economic, social, and cultural shifts taking place in his state and around the country. He stated that he didn't fully appreciate them, though he should have. Or he actually knew all about the shift, but perhaps the Italian-American mentality and the mobster hubris that nothing can touch them prevented him from changing his ways. I'm now going to provide possible reasons why he did not appreciate them. Actually, these were not cultural shifts at all. Unwanted and non-consensual touching, groping, kissing, and comments of a sexual nature have always been wrong, but Italian Americans did not recognize them as wrong. Actually, 2 cultural shifts took place. First, when Italian Americans began to believe it was okay for them to do such things as women were prevented from complaining. And second, when people began to show displeasure, they still continued their offensive behavior. I would like to state at the outset that I'm going to discuss Italian Americans and Greek Americans. The discussion applies only to Italian and Greek Americans and does not apply to Italians and Greeks living in their respective countries. We in Punjab, India, from where I come from, we have an excellent relationship with Italians through the great work Sonia Gandhi, the Italian wife of former Prime Minister of India Rajiv Gandhi, has done on our behalf in Italy. Now, after German masqueraders in America and Britain had received the technology from Germany to deliver threats to people electronically, the clandestine campaign to destroy white people of non-German ancestry in America and British Commonwealth nations began in the mid-1960s. A major goal of the campaign included the darkening of non-German white America through marriages with darker whites. At that time, there was still too much resistance to the mixing of races, but that would change with the use of threats in about a decade of effort. The process was begun by choosing the darkest of Europeans for the project to darken white America. Italian Americans and Greek Americans fit that bill perfectly. Offer of incredible financial gains through crime was made to these groups. Only the mobsters, the mafia among Italian Americans took up the offer as they were already engaged in organized crime. Greek Americans did not buy into it, but individual Greek Americans certainly took advantage of the offer by committing crimes individually. Now, besides organized crime, individuals took the initiative to meet the masquerader hurdle qualification of murdering a non-German white American. They were rewarded with a non-German beautiful white wife who was threatened and forced to marry the darker Italian or Greek American or mobster. The technology to deliver threats electronically was shared with them so that they themselves used threats to force people to give them business, which enriched them, and also forced beautiful women to marry other members of their families. Non-German white American males were also forced to marry darker women. A clarification about Italian Americans and mobsters needs to be made. Not all Italian Americans belonged to the mafia, but virtually all of them benefited from their connections with the mob, or knowing some mobster or their family or the other, all being because of all of them were of Italian origin. The higher one rose in status, whether in business and politically, deeper the likely connections with the mob. Even the rank and file Italian Americans benefited financially in their restaurants and small businesses as well as jobs from mob connections. In tandem with these strategies to force white women and men to marry dark Italian and Greek Americans, the Tall, Dark and Handsome Guys and Dumb Blondes campaign was launched to try and dupe non-German white Americans into swallowing those lies. Obviously, Italian Americans were portrayed as the main tall, dark and handsome guys, and non-German white blonde women were portrayed in the movies as dumb blondes. Movies like Casanova portrayed Italian Americans as handsome and romantic. The Italian Americans and mobsters were getting wealthier because of their crimes and mutual sport, and beautiful blondes were marrying them or hanging around them, though not many people knew that the blondes were being forced to do so with threats. Decades of this emboldened Italian Americans to start pawing, kissing in public, hugging, touching, feeling, groping, and making comments of a sexual nature with white blonde women. For Italian Americans and mobsters, this became the culture then. They began to live under the delusion that they were irresistible to white blonde women. Then the existence of German masqueraders and the real power behind the mobsters was discovered around 1999 to 2000. The mobster activities were stopped. However, Italian Americans and mobsters are still able to issue threats electronically. They do so even today. I deal with such people regularly. They still suffer from the delusion that they're irresistible to women and continue to use threats to try and force blonde women to marry them. Now, Governor Cuomo knows that the culture he was referring to had been forced upon society by Italian Americans with threats. He still merrily carried on with his unwanted behavior of touching, groping, kissing, hugging, and making sexually oriented comments towards women, perhaps still thinking Italian American men are considered highly romantic and are irresistible to women. He must also have felt that because of his position and being an Italian American, with the fear that endangered because of past mob connections, he felt he was untouchable. Of course, German masqueraders like Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein went a lot further and forced women with threats to have sex with them or rape them. What I find very surprising is that Governor Cuomo carried on with his unwanted and unacceptable behavior with women even after the Me Too movement should have put an end to it, especially after Jeffrey Epstein had his neck cracked and Harvey Weinstein rots in jail, awaiting the time when he will really be fully brought to justice. Because the unacceptable behavior with women had gone on for so long, perhaps Governor Cuomo thought it is still the norm. The original line of unwanted groping, pawing, kissing, and hugging of women had been drawn with threats by German masqueraders and Italian Americans and mobsters, but the line was redrawn after the existence of German masqueraders was discovered and that they were the real power behind mobsters. Being an Italian American regularly in touch with other Italian Americans, Governor Cuomo should have been aware of the redrawn line. Perhaps his hubris prevented him from recognizing the reality. Next, I would like to make a few comments on his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. In his statement, he stated, "I want to remind all New Yorkers of an important lesson and one that I will carry with me for the rest of my life, and that's what you New Yorkers did, and that's what you New Yorkers did in battling COVID. The enemy landed in New York State. COVID launched the attack here. It came on planes from Europe and we had no idea. It was an ambush, and it was up to New Yorkers to fight back. We were on our own, and it was war. Nurses, doctors, essential workers became our frontline heroes. You refused to give up and you fought back, and you won, going from the highest infection rate in the nation to one of the lowest. No one thought we could do it, but you did it. And how you did it is what's most important. You did it together as one community, one family, the family of New York, and you saved lives. It was beautiful to see, and it was an honor to lead." The real story in the early response to the pandemic in New York is quite different, however. The Attorney General's report that found that Cuomo had sexually harassed 11 women also concluded that the administration understated the true death toll in nursing homes by at least 4,200, and that deaths increased due to a state order that forced nursing homes to accept recovering COVID-19 patients. Families of the more than 15,000 New Yorkers who died in nursing homes say they want accountability. In the early investigations, for months, the Cuomo administration did not provide documents and other requested data, and allegedly may have provided false information to the Justice Department, which is a federal crime. Thus, as it turns out, Governor Cuomo did not do a very good job in fighting COVID-19 in his state. He may have felt honored to lead, but apparently he did not lead well as far as the pandemic is concerned. I think the families of those whose loved ones died in nursing homes need a fuller explanation of what really happened. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and read my articles on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please follow me on my YouTube and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjeet Saini, to get information on the latest postings of articles and videos.